Yeah!
What's going on, my friends? Opening night for the Trailblazers. The Minnesota Timberwolves are in town. Tip-off at 7. I will be live from Moda Center from 3 until 5. Chris Burkhart has Blazers Game Day live from Moda at 5. I'll have the network pregame show at 6. Tip-off is at 7. And following the game, the fifth quarter, right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Each and every Trailblazers game streams live on our free iHeartRadio app, so you can listen wherever you may be. Tickets are still available for the game tonight at trailblazers.com. Listen to me today at 4:45 for your chance to win Adam Sandler tickets. He's going to be at Moda Center on October 28th. From the NFL, Jaden Daniels has been ruled out. Marcus Mariota will start Monday against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Tony Vitello from Tennessee is the new manager of the San Francisco Giants, making him the first coach hired directly from college to Major League Baseball. Rip City Drive with Chad Doing is next.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
If I were a player, I would respond to him because he's the real deal. He's no BS. There's no second agendas. What you're hearing is the truth, and a lot of times players don't get the truth. They get a lot of gobbledygook. It looks like he's turning around parts of it. You know, it's hard when you have a quarterback with a rating that we got. You know, I mean, he has the ability, but something just is not jiving. But if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to see similar results if you go across the league. You have to play consistently at that position, and that's what we're going to try to do. If we can just complete a pass, it would look good. We got to complete some passes. You got to convince them that you can do something.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, what's going on, my friends? It's opening night for your Portland Trailblazers. I am live here at Moda Center as we're getting ready for tip-off with the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's coming up at 7 o'clock. I'm going to be live from 3 until 5 from Section 330, and then at 5 o'clock, Chris Burkhart will take over with Blazers Game Day. I'll have the network pregame show at 6 from Section 113. Tip-off will be at 7. Michael Holt and Travis Demers will be on the call. And following the game tonight, Chris Burkhart with the fifth quarter. All Trailblazer games stream live on our free iHeartRadio app, so you can listen to the games wherever you may be. And, of course, we are your home for the best Trailblazers coverage in Portland, 620 Rip City Radio, and we are the only place to get the Trailblazer games. So it's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm pumped up for opening night. Listen to me today at 4:45. I've got Adam Sandler tickets to give away, a pair. We'll do it at 4:45 before I kick it over to Chris Burkhart. And he's going to be here at Moda Center coming up on October 28th. On this show today, Alex Brink, former Coug, our college football and NFL insider from E4 Sports, is going to join me coming up here in 20 minutes. And at 4:20, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, Sean Hyken, is going to make the trek up to Section 330 and join me live here at Moda Center. And then Adam Sandler tickets at 4:45. Now, if you want to hit me up, now would be the time. 503-248-0620. You can text me direct at 360-281-5473. You can find me on X at Chad and Rip City. I want to hear your voice. What do you think about the opener tonight? What do you think about your Trailblazers throughout the course of the season? I laid out my expectations and what I think is going to happen, my projections for the team coming up this year. The Vegas total for wins on the Trailblazers, depending on what book you look at, is anywhere between 32.5 all the way up to 35.5. You need to pound the over. This team is being undervalued. I think they're going to make major strides this year. I've got them at 45 wins. What do you think about that number? 45. Now, I can't tell you what that's going to net you in the Western Conference because it's such a deep and brutal conference in the NBA this year. But I think the Blazers get to 45 wins. I also, and the main reason why I believe that number is going to happen is because I expect them and think they're going to be a top 5, top 10 defense throughout the entire season. We saw it for an entire half of a year, half of last year, second half. when they went 23-18 down the stretch, they were a top 5 defense. This team is long, they're versatile, and with their young core and with the addition of Drew Holiday, they're now playing basketball the way that Coach Billups wants them to play basketball, which is great. And so I'm pumped up about that because you're going to win a lot of games just by showing up and outworking your opponent and defending. This is not the Trailblazers of 7 or 8 years ago. This is a new team with a new identity that is defensive-minded first. That's it. That's how they're going to win, by manufacturing points with their defense, by creating pressure and working their asses off, which is what I expect. I also think that Tamani Kamara is going to be a first-team all-defender, which is great. I think Drew Holiday was brought in for one reason, because he's going to help them win now. He is going to be a big difference maker on both ends. He's in good shape. He's smart. He knows where to be on both sides of the ball. And when he's on offense, he can play with the ball in his hands or without. And when he doesn't have it in his hands, it allows Denny Avdia, Shaden Sharp, Scoot, other guys to be able to initiate the offense, which is great. I think early in the season, they're going to lean on their defense. I think it will take some time before they get used to and comfortable with this new offense under assistant coach Tiago Splitter. But as the season moves along, we're going to start to see the fruits of their labor to change the offense, to get more people involved, allow the guards to play faster, and create for their teammates. Movement, baby, movement. That's what I'm talking about. I also am taking the long approach with young Hansen. I would not expect him to be dazzling in year number one. It's very difficult for a center to adjust to the NBA, especially if you're coming from the Chinese Basketball League. Hansen's not used to the type of bigs at the 4 and the 5 that he's going to see in the NBA. Not to mention the officials who are hot garbage on most nights. He's going to get frustrated with that as he adjusts to the game and learns how the game is called, so he can adjust to the officiating, and it's just going to be a process. I think we'll learn more about him 2 to 3 years down the road. I also think the team MVP is Denny Avdia. I think that will shine through this year. He is invaluable to this club in terms of what he brings on both ends of the floor. He plays at a very high tempo. He sets the pace. He pushes the fast break. He's a tough-minded, hard-nosed defender, and he's very aggressive on offense. And he's one of those guys that appreciates contact. You know, things have changed. When I was younger, when I was in my teen years watching the NBA, and when these international players would come over, they were known as one thing: soft. They didn't want contact. They didn't want to take a charge. They didn't want to set a pick. They didn't want any part of it. And now it's changed. These guys have come over. They're playing a different brand of basketball, and Denny Avdia is a physical basketball player. I think he is the MVP, and this team is at their best when he and Tamani Kamara are on the floor together. So I've got high expectations for the team. I can't wait to see them play, and it's going to be a good test tonight against Minnesota, a team that's physical, defensive-minded, and they got some star power. So that's where I'm at. 45 wins, top 10 defense. Denny Avdia is the team MVP, and Tamani Kamara is a first-team all-defender. I'm pretty pumped up. I think this team's going to be good, and they're going to make those strides that we've been waiting for. Now, they're still young, so they've got a long way to go. Even Coach Billups said it yesterday, hey, we're not a championship team yet. But that's where I'm at on the Portland Trailblazers. Now, I do want to mention something that came across the wire in the NFL. Now, this might upset Sean and Sandy because I'm going to question somebody who's above my pay grade, and I hate to do that, right? Remember Sean and Sandy got mad at me yesterday because I had the gall to question and criticize Dan Wilson's decision not to put Munoz in the game when Bizzardo gave up the home run to freaking Springer. Well, Chad, that's above your pay grade. You know, you shouldn't criticize. You should support and applaud him for getting them as far as they did. Well, I'm going to criticize Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets. The Jets are a piece of crap. Their ownership is bad, and they've been an awful football team for almost my entire life. And everything starts at the top, and it just rolls downhill, right? Here's Woody Johnson just throwing strays out at anyone that will take them.
If I were a player, I would respond to him because he's the real deal. He's no BS. There's no second agendas. What you're hearing is the truth, and a lot of times players don't get the truth. They get a lot of gobbledygook.
Oh, thanks a lot, gobbledygook. Thanks. Really appreciate that, Woody. There he is defending his head coach, Aaron Glenn, who is 0-7. The guy hasn't even won a freaking game. Well, if I was a player, I'd listen to him. Really? Why? Have they won a game, Woody? Also, went on to throw his quarterback under the bus, Justin Fields.
It looks like he's turning around parts of it.
it's hard when you have a quarterback with, with a rating that we got. He has the ability, but something just is not jiving. But if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to see similar results if you go across the league. You have to play consistently at that position, and that's what we're going to try to do. If we can just complete a pass, it would look good. You got to complete some pass. You got to convince them that you can do something.
Yeah, really. Thanks, Woody. Really appreciate the insight there. It's funny. Who was it that agreed to sign Justin Fields to give him like $30 million in guaranteed money? Was that Woody Johnson? Isn't he the owner? Isn't he the one that signed off on bringing Justin Fields in? Any of us could have told you that he can't throw the football, that he's not a pocket passer, that he's not accurate, and he doesn't deliver the football on time and on target, you moron. I love that. I love owners throwing their quarterbacks under the bus when in the end it was him who made the decision. But this is why certain teams struggle year after year after year. So I'm sorry, Sean, but I'm going to suggest that Woody Johnson has no clue of what he's doing based on the track record of his team over the last several years. They are the worst team in football right now. They have been one of the worst franchises in football of all time. He tried to kill Aaron Rodgers, who's now getting it done in Pittsburgh. They are a laughingstock. And look, I like Aaron Glenn too, but as Bill Parcells would say, you are what your record says you are. Aaron Glenn's a head coach who's 0-7, hasn't won a freaking game. But apparently Woody Johnson would listen to him if he was playing for him. Thanks, Woody. And good job throwing your quarterback under the bus that you agreed to give $30 million in guaranteed money to, you idiot. But again, who am I to question anybody? I've never been an NFL owner. It's above my pay grade. I just know that Woody Johnson has no clue of what he's doing. He's clueless. Now, Sean Payton, it's not good enough that he just came off one of the most incredible wins in franchise history, 33-32 over the Giants, that he drafted his quarterback that he believes is a franchise guy in Bo Nix. He still has to throw shots at Russell Wilson. Hey, Sean, worry less about Russ and focus more on your offense, which is a disaster right now. It was a miracle from God that you guys won that game against the Giants. You need to figure out your offense. Less personnel packages, run the football more, and put Bo in a better position. But instead, he wants to continue to fire arrows at Russell.
I have a ton of respect for that organization. I spent 4 of my early years there coordinating Super Bowl, first game in this stadium before 9/11, close with the mayor, Tisch family. And, they found a little spark with that quarterback. I was talking to John Mayer not too long ago, and I said we were hoping that change would have happened long after our game.
Love that. In other words, we would have rather played Russell Wilson because I wanted to get a piece of his backside, and we would have dominated him. So there you go. So Sean Payton taking shots at Russ. He can't get off that. And Woody Johnson, clueless. He's like Mr. Magoo leading a franchise. So you've got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are coupon clippers, trying to sign offensive linemen to their team. They suck. And now you've got Woody Johnson, still clueless. He's blind, deaf, and dumb. Good job, Woody. Just keep running your ship there. Oh, I'd play for Aaron Glenn. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's 0-7, but, man, I'd run through a brick wall for the guy.
If I were a player, I would respond to him because he's the real deal.
The real deal.
No BS. There's no second agendas. What you're hearing is the truth, and a lot of times players don't get the truth. They get a lot of gobbledygook.
Yeah, was he the real deal when he was disrespecting Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, I'd like to kick him in the kneecap. And you know what, to be honest with you, I know Sean Payton coaches my favorite team, but I'd like to kick him in the kneecap too. Just let Russ go. He's gone, bro. You got Bo Nix. Worry about Bo Nix and the offense because you tell me you're a genius. Oh, it drives me crazy. All right, we'll come back. Alex Brink going to join the show, our college football and NFL insider. He just got back from Virginia, where the Cougs once again came up just short on the road. And we'll get his take. We'll talk a lot of quarterbacks. Alex Brink's up next. I'm live from Moda Center getting ready for the opening night game. Minnesota's in town. Tip-off at 7 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, in case you miss it, here's the Jets idiot owner Woody Johnson throwing Justin Fields under the bus.
It looks like he's turning around parts of it. You know, it's hard when you have a quarterback with, with a rating that we got. You know, I mean, he has the ability, but something just is not jiving. But if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to see similar results if you go across the league. You have to play consistently at that position, and that's what we're going to try to do. If we can just complete a pass, it would look good. You got to complete some passes. You got to convince them that you can do something.
And that's the same guy that agreed to give him $30 million in guaranteed money. Not exactly a great owner. It's like, please shut up. And Aaron Glenn, look, I like Aaron Glenn, but he's 0-7. So I don't need Woody telling me he would play hard for him if he was a player. Oh, my gosh, the Jets. All right, our college football and NFL insider is a former Cougar. He's now with E4 Sports, and he's back off his trip to Virginia. Alex Brink is back on the Rip City Drive. Alex, back-to-back trips where you got a chance to go to Ole Miss and Virginia. How was this trip, man? Once again, the Cougs so close, but what was the game day atmosphere like in that part of the country?
Well, yeah, Virginia was a really cool place. Charlottesville, I mean, obviously a beautiful campus. Stadium's been around forever, Scott Stadium, and it gave me similar vibes a little bit to Ole Miss as far as the people, right? Really nice, very welcoming, and it was you could see why when Virginia is decent at football, which is not often. This year is one of those years. The fan base gets behind it, and they they can do some pretty special things. So I really enjoyed it. Tough trip for the Cougs. Probably should have won that football game. Ultimately, more of kind of their own errors down the stretch. Maybe a little different than last week versus Ole Miss, where Ole Miss seemed to kind of crank it up a notch down the stretch.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I know there are no moral victories in sports, but, I mean, it's got to say something about the squad for the way they've gone on the road against two very difficult opponents and competed and have been right there. What have you seen from that group that came up short the last 2 weeks?
I mean, a lot of heart for sure. I mean, not only are they a little outmatched, just athletically, but they're pretty banged up, and particularly on the offensive and defensive line. So defensively to come out and back-to-back weeks against high-powered offenses, right, to hold them under 30 points, under 400 yards of total offense, Ole Miss and Virginia averaging way above that. I mean, shoot, see what Ole Miss did to Georgia last week, and they couldn't even put up that production against the Cougs. So, I think it speaks to them on the defensive side of the football. Offensively, I think it's a pretty gritty team, and, they go as far as Zevi Eckhouse goes, right? And so Zevi made a couple bad decisions down the stretch that really affected the outcome of the game. But overall, he's played fantastic since he's been in there. I think, Chad, ultimately, success for this season is going to come down to these last 5 games, right? 5 pretty winnable football games. Definitely going to be, there'll be some challenges, but if Washington State can get to a bowl game, 6-7 wins, I mean, gosh, if they get to 8, but 6 or 7 wins, plus those really tough, like you said, kind of road games that they put up a good fight in, I think people will look back on this season as a success.
That's awesome. Alex Brink is with us here on the Rip City Drive. I'm a big fan of Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham, and I love watching Sam Levitt play and Jordan Tyson. Now, you go back a week, they got blown out by Utah 42-10, and what I learned in their week of preparation for Texas Tech is that Kenny Dillingham reached out to a couple of coaches that he respects who have been doing it for a long time, and he asked them how to best prepare for Texas Tech coming off a game where he thought they were soft, didn't block or tackle well. And the information he got back from these coaches, Alex, was to practice harder and to have more physical practices. So they were tackling in practice leading up to the Tech game. And then you saw the response with a great defensive effort. They were the more physical team against Texas Tech, which was impressive. So you've been there and done that before in games, Alex. What does that do for your team when the coach switches it up and brings a little more physicality in the practice? Kind of walk me through that.
Well, I think we're in an interesting time, obviously, in college football for a lot of reasons. But, one of the things that's different is with athletes getting paid and changes around practice structure and schedules and just the way the game is, it starts to feel like it's the NFL. All right. In the NFL, there's very little hitting in practice. I mean, it is a really limited schedule. A lot of walkthroughs. Those athletes are in their prime. They've done it for a long time. They're trying to protect their bodies for a long season, work on the mental side of things. And at the collegiate level, that doesn't really work, right? Because you have younger athletes that maybe haven't been as exposed or as much experience tackling and being physical. So you do need to kind of mix that in, right? And it's easy for 19 and 20-year-olds to get a little complacent when they haven't been challenged during the season. And so I think it's a great approach. It reminds me of how Mike Leach used to coach often. He would have a lot of physicality in his practices. In those, Washington State or Texas Tech, wherever he was at, Mississippi State, really physical football teams, and tough football teams. So I think Kenny Dillingham made the right approach. I think it's important to have that sprinkled in at the collegiate level to make sure, you have that physicality.
All right. The one thing that people were waiting for was Miami to melt down and lose a game. And I know it's easy to criticize the favorite who loses the game, but I'm a big fan of Jeff Brom, head coach at Louisville, and I watched him play in college, but I think he's doing a good job with the program. But what a lot of people didn't know going into that game was they had one of the best defensive lines along with Tech and along with Miami going into that football game. I just thought it was an impressive defensive performance, and this kind of reminded me of what you were saying with Indiana, right, where you have much more parity in college football, and a lot of times you show up to play a game. And I don't know if sometimes the players understand the type of quality of opponent they're getting right there, but I thought Louisville was impressive with what they did defensively to limit that explosive Miami attack.
Look, I mean, Chad, I watched that Louisville team on tape the week before against Virginia, right? Virginia sneaks away with one in overtime, basically because the Louisville offense handed it to them. A fumble on 4th and 1 that led to a scoop and score, and a terrible interception by Miller Moss that led to a pick six essentially gave Virginia 14 points, right? And that Louisville defense you're talking about really bottled up Virginia's offense as well, which is an explosive offense, right, in its own right. So, I was kind of thinking the same thing going into that game, that was a really dangerous game for the Hurricanes, and it happened just like that. A fast, physical Louisville defense forced a ton of turnovers, right? The downside that we've seen before when at the quarterback position, if you turn the football over, especially in a short week on a Friday night, it can be really tough. And Carson Beck, he's shown that at times he'll force the ball, he'll get out of rhythm, and ultimately I think that was the difference. And again, Louisville, Jeff Brom does a really nice job. They kind of always sneak up on somebody throughout the year. So I thought it was a great game by the Cardinals.
There's no question about it. I wanted to ask you about Coach DeBoer. You and I are big fans. He got his offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, back. After that opening weekend loss to Florida State, people panicked. But, man, look at him now, Alex. I mean, 4 straight wins against ranked opponents, and they look really good. So I think it's maybe a good reminder that we should remember to be patient from time to time when it comes to sports and the process that it takes to get a team to where you want them to be.
Well, yeah, and you gotta put some historical context behind who Kalen DeBoer is as a coach, right? I mean, I think a lot of people obviously saw his success at Washington, and they said, "Boy, this is a fantastic football coach. He goes to Alabama. He must, all these things." They forget how long he's been in that position, back through Fresno State, back into the Dakotas. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's seen a lot, right? And so, him going to the Alabama job is a huge job, obviously, but he's seen so many things on the football field that he knows how to handle almost everything. And I think his reaction to an early season loss and getting that team remotivated and turned around. Remember, there was a lot of conversation early about, what looked like effort issues on defense for Alabama and kind of the execution. And it just didn't seem like, it didn't seem like an Alabama football team from what people were used to, right, under Nick Saban. Didn't really seem like a Kalen DeBoer football team either. And he really got in that locker room and turned that thing around, him, the leadership of the coaches and the players. So, a really impressive job. Also doing it with a huge limelight on. I mean, all eyes are on him at Alabama following Nick Saban. To be able to make that change and have the success the last few weeks has been really, really impressive.
All right, I want to get your take on BYU. Number one, how good of a coach is Kalani Sitake? They're unbeaten right now. And I've watched them play a number of games this year, and I didn't think they would beat Utah, and they did. Just what are your thoughts on the way that Sitake's got that group playing right now? And they've got a young quarterback in Barrett Bachmeier who, he's not the best passer yet, but he's really good with his legs. I just like the way that team competes.
Yeah, it seems to be a year in and year out with BYU football. It seems like a plug and play. Kind of, they're always hyper competitive. A guy like Barrett Bachmeier, right? His brother Hank Bachmeier was quarterback for a long time in college football.
Yeah,
that's a football family. He knows the expectations. With Kalani Sitake, you get a guy that kind of utmost intensity with a soft touch at the same time, right? Which is hard to do in college football, and players really appreciate that, I think, from Coach Sataki. And he's a great motivator. He gets those guys ready to go, and BYU's always a really disciplined football team, right? And that's what gets a Utah team that is not as typical discipline itself gets in trouble, when they're on the road, right? Or BYU can go into places like Arizona and come up with wins because it just seems like they make fewer mistakes than their opponents week in and week out.
No question about it. How attractive is the Florida opening? And I can't help but wonder if they're going to take a long look at Lane Kiffin, who maybe might look to move elsewhere where he might feel like he's got a higher ceiling. What are your thoughts on the Florida gig?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I wouldn't test that Florida gig with a 10-foot pole. I don't think it's a great job. You haven't seen somebody have sustained success there since Urban Meyer, right? And we all kind of know why that happened the way it did. Since then, Gainesville's a really hard place to recruit to. I don't think it matches up facility-wise or experience-wise the same way that some other SEC schools can. I mean, I think from a fan perspective on the outside, you think about Steve Spurrier, you think about the Swamp, you think about Urban Meyer, and all those things sound great. But to an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, there's better places to go play football, particularly in the SEC. And I think that's the challenge that Florida faces. And it's the reality that, I don't think that administration and fan base has gotten over the late 90s, and realized that things have moved on. And so when you have a guy like Dan Mullen that wins, 10, 11, 12 games, and then has a couple off years, and you fire him, that's a problem, right? Like you're making a mistake, same as Jim McElwain or whatever it is.
All right. I want to ask you this because I'm wondering how much you love this story as a guy who works with quarterbacks. But, man, this tells you how much I don't know football, Alex, is that I thought the Colts were going to be terrible this year. And they're right now literally one of the best teams in football. And Daniel Jones, the reason that I thought they were going to be terrible is playing like an MVP. And can you kind of go inside what you're seeing with what Shane Steichen is doing? I understand he's got better players around him. But, man, Daniel Jones, I mean, he is unstoppable right now. It's such a great story.
It really is, but again, it just speaks to, Chad, the formula of success in the NFL, right? And that is you need to be able to run the football first offensively. And if you can run the football, particularly if you have one of the best backs in the league in Jonathan Taylor, you have a chance with anybody playing quarterback to be successful, in all honesty, because all of them are good enough, right? All the players, all the quarterbacks in the NFL that are playing at that level are good enough to get it done. Do they have the supporting cast when it comes to running the football, a play caller that can, design play action pass and things around that? That's number one to me. And then, the Colts had a good, they've had a good defense, and it's really just kind of getting the pieces of the puzzle together. So it's kind of a perfect storm, in my opinion, for Daniel Jones to go into that Colts locker room and be the beneficiary of what was actually a decent roster that just didn't have a guy that could pull the trigger for him. And Steichen's done a really nice job of making it all work.
That's pretty awesome. Alex Brink, former Coug, is with us here on the RipCityDrive, our college football and NFL insiders. We get ready for another big weekend of football action. I wanted to play this for you just because first off, real quick, Joe Flacco balling out against the Steelers, that battle between he and Aaron Rodgers. How much did you enjoy watching that with Flacco out there? It's pretty simple, right? It's like, where's Jamar Chase? I think I'll throw it to that guy. I think he got like 23 targets, man. Awesome.
My favorite part of that was after the game, Flacco was talking about it. He's like, dude, I didn't even know what half the formations they called were. I couldn't understand what was going on. So I just called the play and then looked for Jamar and let that thing go. I thought it was hilarious. And then, the zone read, he said they didn't call it right. And so all of a sudden he realized it's going to get blown up. And so he just decides to pull it and go and get the first down. And, there's so many layers to it. Like,
awesome.
Watching Rodgers and Flacco at their age do it's cool. Joe Flacco is my draft class, so it's fun to see a fellow 40-year-old out there ripping it,
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool, but it also speaks, right, to these guys and their ability at, they're physically not what they were when they were in their 30s, but mentally they process so well.
All right, I want to play this for you. I'm not a fan of bad owners criticizing quarterbacks publicly, especially when they agreed to pay him the money. But here's Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets, talking about some of their dysfunction right now at 0-7.
It looks like he's turning around parts of it. It's hard when you have a quarterback with, with a rating that we got. You know, I mean, he has the ability, but something just is not jiving. But if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to see similar results if you go across the league. You have to play consistently at that position, and that's what we're going to try to do. If we can just complete a pass, it would look good. You know, we got to complete some passes. You got to convince them that you can do something.
I mean, that's the same guy that signed off on the $30 million in guaranteed money, Alex. If he would have called you, you could have been like, hey, Justin Fields is a good man, but he's not going to deliver it on time and on target from the pocket. Crazy.
Yeah. I think the expectations there are, obviously not in alignment. I mean, I think Justin Fields could be a really good. Again, this reminds me of the Sam Darnold conversation or Baker Mayfield or whatever. Like, he could get it done, but you have to get him in the right situation, right, and have the right roster around him and play callers and all those sort of things. And clearly the Jets are not that this year. You wonder if they'll ever will be. To your point about Woody Johnson, and I just think it's so out of place. Like, what that's your friend. That's who you tag as your franchise quarterback. Like, that's definitely not the approach to take.
Well, I agree, and especially for players like, look, man, some guys are going to struggle, and maybe some guys aren't the guy. But Justin Fields has come in and worked hard and tried to do everything he can to help the team win, and he's got good character. I just don't like good character guys like that being thrown under the bus. It's weird to me.
I mean, I agree 100%. And you know what it is, right? It's people deflecting from, the challenges that they're facing and that sort of thing. It's like, dude, we don't need to. Again, the quarterback, and this, you've heard me say this so many times, and there's no better year to reinforce this fact that the quarterback, by and large, is not the issue on the football team. Most of the time, it's the rest of what's going on around it.
Yes.
And again, the examples are Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco. Right? Like, it's so obvious to me.
All right. Well, in fact, that reminds me. Someone came up to me when I was down at Spirit Mountain last week and said, you've got to ask Alex Brinks this question. And his whole premise was he hates that quarterbacks get criticized for all the interceptions that happen because he's like, I'm sure that it's not always a quarterback's fault. These guys, sometimes they probably have no idea what they're doing. So I'll ask you this. I know as a quarterback you have to take the blame for everything, but how often was an interception you threw, especially later in your career at WSU, a result of somebody not doing their job or running the wrong route?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 30% of the time. It's not solely on the quarterback, right? Like, I think that's a rough, fair number.
Okay.
All
right.
It's like the guys that on Twitter, right? They see they see the TV cut of the game, and they're like, "Man, why was he throwing that ball there?" And it's like, well, that guy was supposed to run out, not in. So that's why. You know what I mean? Nobody knows the read. Nobody knows what was supposed to happen. So most people don't really understand why an interception or an incompletion happened.
Oh, by the way, I was talking with a former snapper. He played college at Long Island, and I asked him, I said, Alex Brink, former Coug, told me that you guys can spin the ball exactly the way the quarterback wants to get it for the hold. And he said, oh, yeah, 100%. And I was like, that is true. So that continues to blow my mind that those guys are so accurate that they can put the ball in your hands where you want the freaking laces. That is amazing. Wow.
Right. It's all this. I don't even know how they do it. I just know they can.
Okay. All right. You guys are doing great work at eForce. And I know one thing you're really excited about, and I've done a tour. You showed me the whole setup, but the Yard Baseball Academy at eForce. Tell me about it.
Yeah, the Yard Baseball Academy is just an awesome skill development setup for young baseball and softball players who are looking to get better. Think lessons, camps, classes. We're operating Monday through Saturday. We got indoor batting cages. We have high-level instructors all played the game at a high level or have coached at a high level. Locations in Beaverton and in Milwaukee, so 2 spots, west side and east side. Check out the yardbba.com. Email team@eforcesports.com. You can find out all about lesson packages and times, and we've got some really great programs coming up this winter for baseball athletes looking to improve pitching, hitting, fielding, all of the above.
Okay, one last thing. Did you watch Game 7 with the Mariners?
I didn't because I was watching the Seahawks game, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay. Okay, no, that's fine. That's right. Okay, good. I'm not going to I don't want to dig up. I don't want to pull off the scab and create another wound after watching that game. But, dude, that was awesome today, man. You're the man, Alex Brink. You're the man. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
Gosh, I love Alex. God, that was so good. So good. That's what Alex did. He just blew up the show. Nice work, buddy. Great work. Telephone number 503-248-0620. We're going to have Sean Hyken stop by at 4:20 as we get a chance to talk some basketball with the man from Rose Garden Report. Sean Hyken going to stop by at 4:20. And don't forget, we have Adam Sandler tickets till the night closes in. Till the night closes in. That's coming up at 4:45. I promise I won't sing again when we give away the tickets. I'm live here at Moda Center getting ready for the tip-off. It's opening night. Yeah! Trailblazers and Timberwolves tip-off coming up at 7 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Big thanks to Alex Spring for his time on the show. like no other. And I'm just trying to make you see. All right, I'm live here at Moda Center, Section 330 at the Pines. Sean Hyken is coming up at 4:20. And then Chris Burkhart will have Blazers game day setting you up for tip-off with the Timberwolves coming up at 5 o'clock. Tip-off is at 7 tonight as we prepare for the season opener. Tickets are still available for the game tonight. Everyone that shows up gets a sweet T-shirt. I saw it on the elevator ride up to Section 330. The shirts are pretty dope. There was a guy who was holding a giant pile of them, and I'm not one of those people that ask for, like, stuff, so I did not ask him for one, but I may walk out into a Section 330 right now. There's no one here. I could just go grab one off the seat. Very nice shirt. So come on down, man. Opening night for your Portland Trailblazers. Oh, by the way, we know who the starting lineup is going to be for the game tonight. You know, a lot of Blazer fans are wondering, maybe gripping a little bit, who's going to start? Is Jeremy Grant going to start? Is he going to come off the bench? What about Shaden Sharp? How are they going to handle all of this? Well, here's Coach Billups.
Yeah, I'm going to start the season with Drew, Shaden, Tumani, Denny, DC. That's how I'm going to start. I feel like we have 7 starters on this team. I really do. Those 5, Jeremy and Scoop. I feel like we got 7 starters. For the first year, I had some really, really tough decisions to make, you know, and I like that. They came in and did great. Jeremy was incredible in camp, along with the other guys. You know, I just feel like right now, this is kind of how we need to go, how we need to start. Who ends the game, I'm not sure. This is just how it is. I mean, this is just how it is. The NBA is tough. It's a very competitive situation, but this is where we at.
All right, starting lineup, I like that. Shaden Sharp, Drew Holiday, Denny, Tamani, and Klingon. Hard to argue with that decision. With Jeremy Grant coming off the bench. He also talked about, you know, what this group or what that group brings to the floor.
For me, I like that these guys already have some synergy. You know, they've played together quite a bit. They're starting to really, really get to know each other. You know, they all have their thing that they're so good at, you know, if that makes sense. They all really do. They kind of balance each other out. You know, we got, you know, some downhill drivers in the group which kind of fuel our offense. You know, you got shooting there. You got a lot of things there that, you know. But again, you know, it could have went a different way and I still would be just as confident and feel just as good about it.
He also said that he thinks his team could be 10 deep, or we could see 10 guys in the rotation.
Probably. The way that we play, we got to play more people, you know, because we're going to be playing so fast. We're going to be, hopefully, and we're going to be picking up pressure, and our guys are going to get tired, you know. And let's be honest, like, nobody is their normal self when they're really tired. And so we all got to be there to help one another and help each other, you know. And when a guy gets tired, I'll bring him out and bring him back, you know. So, yeah, it'll be good.
All right, I love this too. Coach Billups talking about how, you know, he was asked basically if he's just going to stick with that starting lineup. He's like, yeah, I don't think so. I can't commit to that because guys know that if we don't get the desired result, then I will make some changes.
I don't know about that. You know, I'm as most of these guys that have been around me for a while, you know, I will make changes if it needs to happen. You know, this is the lineup that I like. My expectation is that we'll just continue to get better and keep getting to know each other on both sides of the ball. But when it's not working, everybody knows I will make changes.
That's good. Accountability. Just like we saw last year with Shaden Sharp. So you're not going to defend, and then I'm going to put your tail on the bench. And you need a coach who's got the power to be able to do that. One last thing from Coach Billups. He was asked about, I don't know, what's the right word, vibes? You know how we feel the vibes? You know, like there's definitely some buzz around this team because of the young core and the changes they made. Obviously, Dame, you know, being back in town is awesome, and people are popping Rod, which is cool. But he was asking about the vibes, you know, knowing that this team's now going to go out and try to win games. That we're out of the dark tunnel of rebuild, and now this team's going to look to try and collect some W's.
You could tell that our group is maturing a little bit, and you know what we went through last season, we started to get some wins and play well. They're hungry for that. You know, it was fun. So yeah, I do sense, you know, a different little feeling around our group, around our guys, around our building, our fans. You know, we also got to understand, like, it doesn't just flip and change that quick. The Western Conference is as good as I've ever seen it, if we're being honest. We're going to be playing against some powerhouses from the very beginning. You know, teams with actually championship aspirations, you know, and goals, and they are actually contenders. So we got to, obviously, we got to be realistic about it as well, you know, and know that I want us to get better and keep taking steps, and we will. But, like, we're not a championship team right now. You know, I don't want us to get crazy here. We got to be honest with it. But, yes, the feeling is much, much different.
All right, there's Coach Phillips. Yeah, there's some good vibes. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Sean Hyken coming up at 4:20. Don't forget, I've got tickets for the one, the only Adam Sandler. We'll do that at 4:45. You can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board. Tip-off's coming up tonight. Opening night here at Moda Center. Timberwolves are in town, and you can hear it live right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it's now 4 o'clock. Your man Chad is here. What's up, my friends? Opening night for the Trailblazers, the Minnesota Timberwolves in town. Tip at 7 from Moda Center. I'll be live up until 5 o'clock. Chris Burkhardt has Blazers Game Day starting at 5. Network pregame show with me at 6. Tip-off at 7. And following the game tonight, 5th quarter with Chris Burkhardt, all right here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Each and every Trailblazers game streams live on our free iHeartRadio app. Tickets for the opener tonight still available at trailblazers.com. Be sure to listen to me today at 4:45 for your chance to win tickets to see Adam Sandler here at Moda Center. He'll be in town on October 28th. Jaden Daniels has been ruled out. Marcus Mariota is going to start Monday against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Tony Vitello from Tennessee, the new manager of the San Francisco Giants, making him the first coach hired directly from college to the major leagues. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you next. Sean Highkin at 4:20. All right, Sean Highkin is going to stop by here in 20 minutes, our Trailblazer Insider from Rose Garden Report. Blazers Game Day coming up at 5. Chris Burkhardt going to be live here from Moda Center, and then the tip-off against the Timberwolves coming up at 7 o'clock with Travis Demers and Michael Holton on the call. There's still tickets available. You can go to trailblazers.com. There's awesome T-shirts draped across the chairs, every seat in Moda Center tonight. So if you come on down, you get a dope T-shirt. And looking forward to see this new look group. I think they're going to win 45 games this year. I think they're going to be a top 10 defensive team throughout the entire year, maybe top 5. I think Denny Avdia is the team MVP. I think Drew Holiday is going to be a huge difference maker on both ends. He's going to help this team win games now. And I'm excited about the start of the season. Love it. Can't wait. Sean Highkin coming up in 20 minutes. We're going to hear more from Denny Avdia here in just a moment. Also from Matisse Thybulle. He is to be determined. We know that Robert Williams will not play tonight, but it looks like Thybulle's got a chance. So we'll find out more on that coming up here in a few minutes. And forgive my voice in the smacking. I worked out today. Wednesday's a full-body workout day. So after the workout, I feel this, this extra boost of like energy and testosterone, and so my appetite increases significantly. And so I've had to break a bunch of radio rules. I'm eating while being on the air, and I just ate this meat stick, grass-fed beef stick. It's from Costco, and it's pretty darn good. I think it broke out to just over $1 a stick, like $1.05. But let me tell you something. Costco needs to stop doing this. When I want to buy something and I want to get a box of bars or meat sticks or whatever, stop taking the box and then attaching it to a flavor that I don't want, so I have to buy 2 boxes, but only one is what I want. Stop doing that, okay? Gosh, it just drives me crazy. It's like, I don't want that bar. I want this bar. Why don't you give me 2 of these and none of that? But they don't do that. They try to trick you, man. And so my dad's like, oh, I love Costco. Costco, Kirkland. He's big on it. And I'm down. They got some things that are great, but they got to stop pairing the items that you don't want with the items that you do want. Don't make me buy it. I'm going to walk in one day. I'm going to peel that little cellophane wrap off the 2 boxes of meat sticks or bars, and I'm going to just take 2 of the ones that I want and see if they notice. It drives me crazy. I hate that. And the only problem with the meat stick is I'm just hoping that this is not the same one I ate last Friday when I sharded at work. And a lot of danger out there in the world, especially when you reach 50. You never know what's coming. It's very scary. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board. What are your expectations for the year? I think I'm 45 wins. This team's going to be much better. They're being undervalued. Right now, I think the over-under in Vegas is like, depending on the book, it's like 32.5 up to 35.5. Pound the over. I mean, just literally pound it. Pound the over. This team's going to be good, and they're going to win early with defense. When you play defense and you execute on that end, it gives you chances to win games, even on nights when you don't have your best offensive stuff, which is most nights in the NBA because teams are constantly on the move. They're traveling around. They're doing this. They're doing that, and it's crazy. So the Blazers, I'm telling you, man, They're going to make a major jump, and the young core is going to be good, and we're going to see them start to get to the level that they want, which is really nice. So I'm excited about it. Now, Denny Avdia yesterday said he's ready for the opener.
I feel really prepared. We had a good training camp. I think we did a good job. Me particularly, I felt great, especially after a nice Eurobasket that got me in rhythm a little bit. And that's it. I'm excited. I'm ready to win. I'm ready to show off for the fans a little bit, be with my teammates, share the court, and that's about it.
No, I like that sexy show-off, man. Give it to us, Denny. Yeah! Denny also said in regard to his team that sky's the limit.
Always saw us as a really talented team, but after sharing the court with some of the guys and see how fast we are, how much we want to, how well we defend, how much we play together, I feel like I'm really excited to start the journey. And I really think the sky's the limit for us. I think we saw it last year with Indiana, a young team that kind of plays fast, really had a lot of success, and I think we're not shy off that. So I think we're
all right, Denny, of course, part of the starting lineup along with Tamani Kamara, Donovan Kling, and Drew Holiday and Shaden Sharp. And I think it was Brendan Green who asked him, what is it like? Starting, not starting? What's your take?
It always feels good, but in the end of the day, as I said, we're really talented. Like everybody, a lot of players can be starters in this league and in our squad. So, one day it can be somebody else is not starting and somebody else is putting in their spot. And, we don't really look at that. We look at, playing together and win. And I know it's, in the end of the day, we're going to mix and match the matchups. We're going to be with different starting lineups on the floor, and I'm happy that we're that versatile.
Yeah, it's good. And that's really the way, of course, guys want to start. But, the top 7 or 8 guys are going to play a ton of minutes anyway. So if you're Jeremy Grant, you're not starting. When you get in, make the most of your time and ball out. He also talked about the speed at which they're going to be playing the lineup and shared some more thoughts.
I feel like it's really hard to guard, especially when you got athletic guys. And, I live off speed, so I like that type of game, type of play. We just got to get adjusted a little bit, see how we fit well through the season. But I think we're really exciting, man. I think, as I said, we have a lot of great players in our team that can be starters. I feel like we're very versatile. We have a lot of talent in our team, and I know it doesn't matter if you start or not. It's just be good for the team. Play your game. Do what coaches ask us to do, and that's about it. I don't really look in who's starting. I'm looking who is participating and playing, help us win, and that's what's the most important for us, for sure.
All right, that right there is the team MVP, in my opinion. Right now, he would be number 1 on my player rankings. I rank the players much like I do with my kids. I think my latest kid rankings, Isaac is number 1. He's been remarkably good lately. Right now, Kaylee is number 2. She just recently moved ahead of Puppy Shots, and Puppy Shots is number 3 because he's been barking way too much at night. But those are fluid, right? Those rankings can change based on events that take place day to day. Same thing with the players. Right now, Denny Avdia is my number 1, and I can change the rankings around based on how they play, react, and do what they're supposed to do or not do what they're supposed to do. But I'm a big fan of Denny. Love Denny Avdia, and I'm excited to see him ball. And I love that he loves contact. And I love that he can play on both ends of the floor, and he's just it's got to be great for him because he comes over from Washington. 1, he doesn't have to be in Washington anymore. But 2, playing for a coach that's given him unlimited freedom to push tempo, to play, and to be free. And I think players love that. Now, Shaden Sharp, not exactly a man of many words, but was asked about his reaction to the new deal. 5 years, $90 million, not bad.
Reaction, no, I was, excited, happy, obviously. I feel like for me it's a big accomplishment, but still got stuff to do, and, still going to come in every day and give it my all and, just do everything what the team needs. So,
I think I said 5 years. I meant 4 years. He's under contract for a total of 5 years because of the current deal, but then the 4-year extension. Thank you, Sean. Sean Hyken coming up here in just a moment. He was also asked if there's relief, that you get that out of the way and just focus on ball.
Yeah, it does feel relief. I'm just more excited to play ball. First game on, Wednesday?
Yeah.
First game Wednesday, so just ready for that. Can't wait.
And finally, he was asked about being able to share that moment, with Tamani Kamara, who got an $82 million extension.
Tamani came in when I was in my second year. So, I feel like we grew together, built that chemistry off the court and on the court. And, he's a hard-working player, works hard, works on his craft, but, really happy for him.
All right, there's Shaedon Sharpe. Excited about tonight. And I'm excited for Shaedon Sharpe. Great preseason. I think he's got the highest ceiling of all the young guys, obviously. He can score at all three levels. It's just a matter of him being consistent with the intensity and the approach on both ends. But the other thing, my other expectation is I think he is going to emerge this year as the team's number one option. And if that happens, the sky is the limit, especially with the players they have around him. Sean Highkin coming up here in just a few minutes. Scotty Bethune has chimed in. I think he's referencing the sharding incident that I had on Friday, but he says, Chad, you're a bit more than 5 years older than me. So let's see. I just turned 50 in August. So what age does the booty hole start to suddenly show up and loosen up? Look, I don't know how to answer that question. All I know is that it's getting older is weird because you don't recognize it all at once. There's just things that pop up. Like I remember maybe a few years ago, it was one of those days where I don't shave in the shower. Like I'm amazed that there are guys that actually do that. I shave in front of the mirror at the sink in the bathroom because I got a lot of detail going on there. I got to see. And it was one of those rare sunny days in the Northwest where the sunlight's coming in, it hits me, and I realize like the gray on the side of my domes, like the gray whiskers, like all of this is showing up, and I'm like, whoa, I'm not a young man anymore. So that just popped in. The other thing that showed up all of a sudden was hair growth. It starts popping up in places where you don't want hair. The ears, nose hair, like the unwanted hair. And I'm not a fan of unwanted hair. I like to be well-groomed, and I don't want things popping out of places where it shouldn't be popping out of. Like, it's freaky, and I don't want to scare people. So I have to go over myself with a fine-tooth comb every couple of days in the bathroom to make sure that, I don't have weird ear hair or nose hair or things that are just gross, right? Or sometimes I'll look at my back. I don't have like a hairy back or a rug, but like sometimes I'll get these stray hairs that look like horse hairs growing out of my back, and I got to shave those. But now it's like I can't even just be driving down the freeway and, by myself and let a fart out. I got to be careful because it's like, well, what did I eat? Is something just going to fly out? I had no idea until I got to work, and then I just had that unfresh feeling. So that's why I always carry wet wipes. I'm always prepared for unforeseen disasters. I removed the garments. I made sure they were put in the bottom of the trash can, got all cleaned up, and then free-balled it the rest of the day. That's how that went down. So, Scotty, I can't tell you how it's going to go down. Just beware, all right? Especially as the next couple of years tick by. You're going to get surprised by things you don't want to be surprised by, all right? And I'm here to help you. If you can learn from my experiences, then I'm happy about that. Like I told you, I want to help people, and if I can help you prepare for these unforeseen disasters that can happen in the middle of your day when you're at work, I consider that a good thing. All right, we'll come back. Sean Highkin, Trailblazer Insider from Rose Garden Report, going to join me. Tip-off coming up at 7. Chris Burkhart's got game day at 5. Season opener tonight against the Timberwolves, and it's all right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Rip City Drive. We're live here at Section 330 at the Pines. I'm with Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, and it's opening night, my friend. I want to start with this because you were at the practice yesterday, but here's Coach Billups talking about his starting lineup.
Yeah, I'm going to start the season with Drew, Shaden, Tumani, Denny, DC. That's how I'm going to start. I feel like we have 7 starters on this team. I really do. Those 5, Jeremy and Scoop. Feel like we got 7 starters. For the first year, I had some really, really tough decisions to make, and I like that. They came in and did great. Jeremy was incredible in camp, along with the other guys. I just feel like right now this is kind of how we need to go, how we need to start. Who ends the game, I'm not sure. This is just how it is. I mean, this is just how it is. The NBA is tough. It's a very competitive situation, but this is where we at.
All right, so it's going to be Denny, Tamani, Klingon, Drew Holiday, Shaden Sharp. What was your reaction to that news from Coach Billups?
Well, we knew what 4 of them were going to be. I don't think there was really much debate or doubt about whether any of it. Out of 4 of those guys, we knew.
So
that
you think it came down to Shaden and Jeremy?
I do. That was kind of the. I mean, you kind of think they would default to Jeremy because he's the veteran. He's the. I guess Drew's technically a little bit higher paid, but he's been the highest paid guy on the team for a couple of years. He has the tenure. Chauncey kind of tends to like to lean on veterans over this time. Like I know he gives young guys minutes if they earn it, but he does tend to kind of lean on veterans because they know what to do. So there was that, but then also all the messaging has been anybody who wants a starting spot has to come out and earn it. And then, between Shade and, the training camp and preseason that he had and everything we heard both behind the scenes and what we saw in the preseason games was that Shaden came out and did what he had to do to convince them that he was. I mean, you saw that both in the extension that they gave him and in this decision. He came out and he was told to come out and earn it, and he came out and earned it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Here's how I walked through that process. On Media Day, when Jeremy Grant was asked about if he thought he would come off the bench or be a starter, his comments led me to believe that maybe he had been told he would be a starter.
Right.
Because he was like, no, I don't expect that to happen.
Well, not just that, but when we asked Shaden about it, we asked him if he had any expectations of starting or coming off the bench. He basically said, "Nah, I don't really expect anything," and that made me kind of think, maybe both of them have kind of been told how it's going to go.
Exactly. That was my first read on that situation. But after watching the preseason, I'm like, you have to start Shaden Sharp. So I was not surprised at the news, and I'm just thankful that Shaden had a very good preseason because my main desire is for Shaden Sharp to take that next step and become one of the dominant players on the team because of what they invested in him. I want the same thing for Scoot, but I like where the Blazers are at now. And, the reality is that Coach Billups made this clear yesterday. You were there that, I'm not going to just stick with this lineup. If guys don't perform, I'll make changes. And we have what he believes is 7 players who can start.
Well, and 6 of them are healthy. Like the Scoot thing makes the decision a little bit easier because he's not going to be healthy or available for the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But
then we don't have to worry about the debate of Drew Holiday or Scoot.
Right,
Anderson.
and I actually kind of think that as it's currently constituted, I kind of like Scoot in that second unit, especially with Jeremy. You have another starting caliber guy for him to play with in that. But also, you saw last season very famously. Speaking of Shaden, Chauncey was not afraid to bench Shaden when he felt like he wasn't doing what he needed to be doing before that game in Chicago. So. You kind of have to take him at his word that this is what he wants to go with right now, but he's not married to this starting lineup, and that if somebody else makes more of a case, or that if they like a guy better in a certain matchup, then maybe they go a different way.
That's pretty awesome. Sean Highkin is here, Rose Garden Report. What are your expectations for this team this year? I've got them. I'll give you mine, and then you can tell me if I'm crazy or not, but I think they're going to win 45 games. I think they'll be a top 10, maybe a top 5 defense throughout the year, and I think early in the season they'll lean on that defense as they continue to get used to the new offense under Tiago Splitter. What are your expectations for this group?
45 is a lot. That's a 9-win improvement over last season. I mean, I can see the argument for it because they're, if they play, closer to what they did the second half of the season, they're not as bad as they were the first half of the season, then maybe they get there. I've kind of had them. I don't want to put a number on the number of games that they win, but I have more of my prediction and projection is more a sense of where in the West they'll finish, and I think they'll be in the 9-10 play-in spot. That's kind of because I think probably like on paper, all things being equal, every team has all their guys healthy. I'd put them somewhere around 11th in the West. But then you look at the teams ahead of them, like you would say on paper are more talented than them. Memphis is already having a ton of injury problems. John Morant is going to be out for a bunch of time. They have a bunch of other guys out. So you don't know how that's going to look. They might end up just like pulling the plug at some point. Dallas, we all think Cooper Flagg is going to be awesome, but it takes time for rookies, especially because he's going to have some ball handling responsibilities, and we don't know when Kyrie is going to come back. Anthony Davis is always, missing 20, 25 games every season, whatever the case may be. So Dallas, you kind of don't know about. Some of these other teams, even like the Lakers and, Golden State and the Clippers and some of these teams that everybody thinks are better than these guys, those teams are old and have a lot of guys that could miss time with injury. So I think based on just the way that, other teams' health stuff shakes out, I think that 9-10 play-in spot is kind of where I would see them ending up.
What's funny is that we look at it differently. I'm not so concerned about, where the team winds up in the standings, right? Mm-hmm. Because the Western Conference is so deep.
Right.
So if they reach my expectation of 45 wins, I have no idea where that places them in the West.
They could be 11th in the West and win 45 games.
Exactly. That's my whole point. So I don't care about the play-in or the playoffs, but if they get to 45 wins, that shows me that they're on that proper ascension, which is what we want to see. But the reason why I think they're going to get to 45 is that, number one, clarity in terms of players and rotation to start the year. So you got the continuity coming back. So I think defensively, they're going to be so much better that it's going to manufacture wins for them earlier in the year, even with the tough schedule over the first few weeks of the season. But then also I still believe in the development. So I think Donovan Clingan, Denny Avdia, Tamani Kamara, Shaden Sharp, like all those guys are going to be better. Mm-hmm. And then you add in Drew Holiday, who I think is going to help them win games now. So I just think that they are going to be better. Maybe it's not 45, but I think we're going to start to see that ascension because of the continuity and then the addition of Drew Holiday. Now, again, this is all predicated on health. If they suffer a couple of injuries at certain positions on the squad, they're in trouble. But so is every other team in the NBA, right? Depth is important.
They already kind of don't have depth at some positions. With Scoot being out, we don't, Drew has looked awesome so far in preseason, but, you're asking a lot of Blake Wesley and Caleb Love in that first little bit of the season before Scoot gets back. Yeah, center. It's like Clingan is your starter. Robert Williams is still not back. I think he should be back soon. He's been practicing, but he's not available to play tonight. And then, we all think eventually Young Hansen is going to be really good, but it's going to be a pretty up and down for him at first. I'm not expecting a lot from him early on. And then Duop Reith is also kind of, he's not a guy who should be like in your everyday rotation. He's a guy that, you use for certain matchups when they kind of want a different look on the offensive end, but he doesn't really bring much to the table defensively. So those two positions, they're kind of thin at. They got plenty of guys on the wings, with the three guys that they're starting at the forward and other guard positions, and then you've also got like Chris Murray, who's a good defender, Matisse Thybulle, who I believe is going to play tonight, and some of these other guys, they have other options at a lot of those positions, but point guard and center, they're kind of thin right now as things are heading into the opener.
I agree. Speaking of Matisse Thybulle, I like him. He was asked about, the speed at which this team's going to play with their new offense. Here's what he had to say.
I mean, I'm pretty fast.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. I think it just creates more variability on offense as far as like who's going to be attacking and where we're attacking from. And I think a lot of guys who, myself included, have a tendency of getting stuck in certain parts of the court, in the half court. Being so quick in transition is going to open it up for just like more opportunity to make plays.
How long do you think it will take them to really start to grab hold of this new offense? It's not going to be a smooth transition, I don't think.
It's going to take a couple months probably, and it looked pretty. It was pretty uneven in the preseason.
Yes, turnovers are going to be an issue,
and it's also like it's not like they're going to have an easy schedule early on in order to kind of get this stuff tuned up. You look at their first 10 games of the season, probably the only one of these first 10 games that they're going to be favored going into is the game in Utah next week. But it's like Timberwolves tonight, that's one of the best teams in the West. Golden State on Friday, that's a team that people expect to be in the playoff mix. Then they go to LA, play the Clippers and the Lakers. Come back home, they play Denver, then they play Oklahoma City. Like that's a lot of good teams that they're going to have to play early on. And like to me, it will be very, very successful first part of the season if they're at 500 at Christmas. That's how tough the schedule is.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. Have you heard anything new on the new ownership group led by Tom Dundon?
No. The Bethal family withdrew the lawsuit last week. They reached some sort of settlement with the Chernick family. So as far as I know, that's all free and clear, and they're going to keep pursuing it. As far as I don't know the timing on when the Board of Governors vote is going to happen. I had been hearing February, March, somewhere in there, but before the end of the season. But probably for most of this year, it's probably just going to be status quo.
Opening night's always been a special night for me ever since I was a kid. I love it. What do you look forward to the most, especially a night like tonight where you get a chance to see the new look team for the first time?
New player intros, new music drops for guys who score. I'm definitely I liked the video screens in the preseason games that they had them going. But even in the preseason, they were still tuning stuff up and trying making sure the kinks get worked out. It's preseason for the game ops department as well as for the players. So this seeing it actually in action with real games for the first time, and I just the first time Young Hansen checks in for a real NBA game, that's going to be a big thing. They're going to before the opening game of the season, they do the intros for all of the players on the team, not just the starters, and so they're going to call Dame's name out, and that's going to be a huge thing, obviously. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's really awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see all the little details and how things are going to shake out there. The other thing I wanted to ask you about real quick is Shaedon Sharpe. I love him because he's not a man of many words, right?
No.
He's a very relaxed individual, but here he is. You were at this talking about his reaction to getting a $90 million extension.
Reaction, no, I was, excited, happy, obviously. I feel like for me it's a big accomplishment, but still got stuff to do, and, still going to come in every day and give it my all and, just do everything what the team needs. So
I just love that he's always in that relaxed state, never too tense, not too panicked. He's yeah, I'm excited, but I still got to go out and ball.
He's just a very nonchalant person. You just... No matter what you're talking to him about, he just is very, and he is, I'll say this, having been around him a good amount because I'm, in locker rooms and stuff, he is a lot funnier off camera than he is on camera. Sometimes, when he gets in front of a mic and has to do kind of this, he can kind of, drift into these, cliches at times, which, because he's trying to not say the wrong things, but he is just a pretty relaxed and laid-back guy in general.
All right, outside of Portland, what are some of the other big storylines you're going to watch early in this season, particularly in the West? We saw Luka last night. I got to give him credit, man. He looked slimmed down. He played great. He's in great condition. I'm happy for him. We got Cooper Flag in Dallas. Minnesota, a team that's in town tonight, is another strong contender in the Western Conference. What are some of the things you're going to keep an eye on?
Well, San Antonio. I mean, they've improved their roster greatly around
Are they
Victor.
Finally going to unleash it under Victor this year?
I think that's kind of the plan. And Dylan Harper, the number 2 pick in the draft, has looked awesome in preseason, too, from what I've been able to see.
They could be a problem.
They could be really good.
But think about that. You just mentioned that a while ago with the West. In the Northwest Division, Denver, Minnesota, the defending champs, and you got 3 teams there, legit contenders. Then you got the Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, and then you got the Suns and Kings, but in the Southwest, Dallas, Houston, Memphis, San Antonio. That's 10 teams that you could look at right now that are probably ahead of Portland in the Western Conference.
And you could make the argument that the 3 best teams in the West now, I had kind of put Houston in that top 3, but the Fred VanVleet injury changes things a little bit. Although they did look very good last night against Oklahoma City.
They did.
But but you could make the argument that the 3 best teams in the West, Denver, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota, are all in the Blazers division. So they got to play all of those teams 4 times. So that's going to be tough.
That is tough. Yeah, the Western Conference. I mean, I know we say this every year, but that's about as deep as I've seen the conference in my lifetime.
The only one of those teams that we know today is not going to be trying to win games is Utah. 14 out of 15. Now, I don't think Sacramento is going to be very good. I don't think New Orleans is going to be very good. Phoenix, yeah. There's a few of those teams that I don't think are going to be very good, but all of those teams are going into the season with the goal of making the playoffs. The only team that's actively trying to be in the lottery is Utah in that whole conference.
Well, isn't it crazy now to be sitting here on opening night? You look back and, at the end of last year, at the end of the season, we got news that Chauncey and Joe had both gotten contract extensions. Then the team goes out and drafts an unknown in the first round from the Chinese Basketball League in Young Hansen. Mm-hmm. Then we get news, Ant's been moved to Boston. Drew Holiday's coming to town. Then we get word that
Dame
is coming back. And
the team got sold?
Yeah, we got news that they had a new owner, which we didn't expect to happen so quick. So it's like, that's a heck of a lot of news in a short period of time.
It's a lot of chaos, but it's all positive. Like,
Yes.
there's no, like, there have been other summers, like the summer where Dame requested a trade, that was, like, hanging over everything the whole
Terrible.
summer, and that was just, like, not a positive thing that people felt good about. This is, like, the only thing that sucks going into the season is that Scoot's out with the injury. That's the only thing that's a bummer. Everything
Yeah.
else is all good.
Yeah, and that still might take some time, right?
Yeah, because the hamstring stuff, like, I've seen him at practices getting shots up, so he's able to do a little bit of on-court stuff, but even once he's cleared to play, it's going to take a couple weeks for him to get ramped up, and then they're still going to probably want to be careful with him. Like, hamstring stuff, you don't want to mess around with because you can re-aggravate
No,
that
there's no
easily.
sense in forcing him back too
Yeah.
early. Yeah, the only downside is that, I mean, you were probably told the same thing. I had heard. Did you hear that he had a really good? They were happy with his offseason.
Oh,
work,
yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. And, like, there's been some stuff on YouTube of him and Drew Holiday together in L.A. doing some of those runs
Love
that a
that.
lot of those guys do. So, and, you know, Drew has spoken very highly of him from the time they spent together that in the summer. But it's too bad that happened. And it happened in a pickup game, you know, at the practice facility the week before training camp started. So he's just been on the shelf.
Okay, I have one question for you. You're manicuring. Your dome is shaved, and it looks amazing every time I see you. Do you use a electric razor,
Yes.
or do you go with the shaving cream and shave it yourself with the razor?
I used to do that, and then I just realized it was taking too much time.
Yeah.
So I have a rotary thing that I use now. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Those electric razors have come a long ways.
Yeah. Saves time.
Saving time is a good thing. All right, that's Sean Hyken. He's our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report. I would imagine you'll have a complete write-up and recap of opening night at rosegardenreport.com tomorrow.
That's the plan.
Dude, you're the man. Thanks for coming by. And good job on your Trailblazer Insider show, too. I was listening the other day. I was like, damn, Sean sounds like a radio
Go
host.
tune in 2 to 3 p.m. every Tuesday with re-airs on Wednesdays from I guess not tonight because the game is happening, but
Yeah, tune in.
Yeah.
Check out Sean. He's the bomb. All right, who's going to win tonight? You like the Blazers in their home opener against Minnesota, or is that going to be too much for them to bite off?
I think Minnesota's the better team. I'm going to go with Minnesota.
Okay. All right. There's Sean Hyken. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Yes,
and we're
sir.
going to be doing this. You and I can get used to these friendly confines
Yeah.
up here at Section 330. The first of many conversations between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll come back. I have Adam Sandler tickets to give away. He's going to be here at Moda on the 28th. We'll do that next here on the Rip City Drive. Listen to me for your chance to win. All right, Chris Burkhart going to join me here in just a moment. And he's getting ready for Blazers game day coming up at 5. Oh, my gosh. Can I get blown up with a few more emails? It's like I'm trying so hard not to lose my mind right now, but it's getting really hard. Okay, I have Adam Sandler tickets. He's going to be here at Moda Center on the 28th. Till the night closes in. And I know a lot of people want to go to the show, so we're going to give away some tickets right now, and we're going to keep it very simple. In fact, I'll ask Burkhart, what number shall we go with, my friend?
Number 5.
All right, how about this? Number 5 is alive. Caller 5 right now to 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Call now for your chance to see Adam Sandler live here at Moda Center on the 28th. Fire away, 503-248-0620. Chris Burkhart is with me now. Brendan Slaughter will take your phone call, 503-248-0620. And Chris Burkhart just sent me an email, too. Let's see what this a-hole had to say. Just wanted to blow up your phone with an email. Thank you.
Come on, it was hanging right there.
No, but this is what I love about radio. And, of course, it's just the way it works in any business now. You've got people in every company across the country handling, like, multiple roles. And so it's like, I'm doing a radio show right now. What do you want me to do? I'm literally talking on air live.
I want you to answer the email.
It just kills me. It's like, what are we doing here, people? What are we doing?
It's like I was getting phone calls today from a friend of the show, Preston Highfield.
The guy blows me up this morning. He's like, he starts talking to me about high school football, and I'm like, dude, I said, like usual, your timing is hot garbage. I said, I'm getting ready for the Blazers season opener. I've got a billion things going on, and you're hitting me up with complete nonsense, and it's all selfishly motivated.
Yeah.
I told him that. He just laughed. He's like, oh, you're right. And then he launched right back into more of what he needs.
Yeah. But I was, so how you doing? And I was thinking maybe I could call that Lake Ridge game.
Yeah. Yeah, he's all over it. I'll tell you what I'm excited about. Like a brand new season opening night. I'm excited to see this group, and I'm pumped because they're taking on a quality opponent in Minnesota. Well, this is a good test right out of the gate.
This entire month, the first 10 games is a test out of the gate. You got Minnesota, you got the Lakers, you got Golden State, who you played twice. You got OKC 3 times before you hit November. So I like the test. You get a chance to see what the new look lineup's all. Have fun with it.
All right, here's a question I got from the 360. It says, do you know who this is? They gave me a head, new heads. They didn't say who they all are. Is that City Sissoko? Who is that?
I have no idea. It does not look like C.D. Sissoko, not at all. It does not look like anyone on the roster.
Is that Blake Wesley?
No, that's not Blake Wesley.
I have no idea who that is. All right, I'm just blind. Hey, that's Drew Holiday.
That's Drew Holiday.
Have no idea who the first one is.
Yeah, we're failing.
All right. There you go. I have no idea. I didn't know. Are they handing out, what are those, what are they called? Fat heads?
Fat heads.
They're handing out some fat heads?
I know they got 20,000 T-shirts on the this, and they look glorious right now.
This is great. I also love this, too. Like, my friend Daniel in Gresham, he hit me up because he's a gambler dude. He's like, who do you like? And I'm like, in what? And he goes, NBA Blazers. I'm like, I have no idea. Bet at your own risk. Opening night NBA?
Right.
That's crazy talk right there.
No, betting over unders for win totals is a little safer play with your team. Opening night, anything can happen. You never know. You might go to double overtime and have a crazy game and not get called for a tech when you call a timeout. You never know.
All right. I'm getting this from Brendan right now, too, that we're getting a ton of modulation from the timeline.
That's weird.
Yeah, what happened there? Let's see here. Is that better, Brendan? Why don't you just come on air and talk with me? Is that better?
I never want to interrupt your train of thought, boss. You know I'm respectful, but yeah, we're coming in a little modulated still.
What do you mean by modulated? I've been in radio for a billion years. I have no idea what he's talking about.
He's making up words, I think.
I think we might have.
But what does that mean?
Go ahead and keep going, guys.
Yeah. We sound like a robot, is what he's saying.
Oh,
that's pretty close.
That's an internet issue. That's an internet issue, not a.
Take it away.
There you go. We're clear. Oh, it's that the robot sound.
Yeah.
The sound I hate the most is when I get like the reverb back in my ears where I hear nothing but an echo.
Yes.
That makes me sick to my stomach right away.
Yeah, that's bad.
Well, I'm excited. Here are my expectations for the year. 45 wins. I think Denny's the team MVP. I think Tamani's going to be a first-team all-defender. I think Drew Holiday is going to be a significant difference maker on both ends who's going to help them win games right now. And I think they're going to be a top 5 to top 10 defense throughout the entire year. And that's really why I think they're going to see that spike in wins this season as they continue that ascension upward.
Yeah, I think that Shea is going to be the MVP. And I mentioned this on courtside. Brendan asked me, he goes, do you think that or do you want it? And I want it, so therefore I'm going to think it into existence. I really want him to take the big jump that we've talked about for so long. Denny's the MVP of the team either. I think your three-headed monster really is going to be Shea, Denny, and Tumani Kamara. If you get that type of year again where you're an all-league defender in Tumani Kamara, if you get that growth from Donovan Clingan as well, couple that with Drew Holiday, and then an expanded offensive game from Shaedon Sharpe, like, this team is going to win ball games and be fun as heck to watch.
All right, this is a funny text I just got. Oh, it's not fixed. Holy crap, on freaking opening night. Are you kidding me? He says, you guys sound like modulating robots, LOL. Robot Chad sucks.
Well, we'll cut to break here, reset the system, and see what happens.
And I just asked him, I said, is it fixed? No. Oh, that's really nice. That's comforting. Very comforting. And I just got another no. So no matter where I turn, no.
Frustrating part is it sounds great in our ear.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Hey, Brendan, why don't you play the music and send us to break, and then we're going to try and fix the robot Chad and robot Chris. Can you do that for me, Brendan? Play some music, and we'll take an extended here's a little musical interlude as we try to solve our technical issues. Blazer Game Day with Chris Burkhardt is coming up next. And you guys, the tip-off, which will be at 7 o'clock across the Trailblazers Audio Network. Following the game tonight, Chris Burkhardt has fifth quarter. You can also listen live via our free iHeartRadio app. And Chad, which apparently sucks. All right, congratulations to all of you who have gotten stand-up tickets. We'll have more to give away tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight, my friends. Chris Burkhardt's got Blazer Game Day coming up next.